Hello everyone, and I'm welcoming you in the Audit and Vision channel. And today I would like to discuss about the 5 embarrassing mistakes that I committed myself, and most probably you have done it already, or maybe you are in the process of doing that. So even though I'm calling it as an embarrassing mistake, but nevertheless, those mistakes, they shaped me as a professional, as an auditor, as a compliance professional. So that's why I really would like to not only point them out as an embarrassing mistakes or occasions, but also I would like to recognize and somehow acknowledge that all of these mistakes and reflections at the moment shaped me who I am at the moment. So let's get started. The mistake number 1, thinking a good auditor has to have a lot of findings. So back in the days when I started being an auditor, when I was an entry-level auditor, junior auditor, I was thinking mistakenly that the number of findings is equal to our good KPI. So basically, you are a good auditor if you bring a lot of findings. And at that time, I didn't think from the perspective of the risk-oriented approach. I was thinking more about, okay, the number, the figure. So I need to bring something to my manager to show up and to show my ambition and show that I'm worth to be an auditor, to call as auditor. But of course, even though I'm calling it as a mistake, those mistakes, they are shaping us as a professionals. And it also gives us a bit reflection on what could be done better. Of course, when I started being an auditor, we didn't think from the perspective of the risk-oriented approach or added value as it is right now. And if you are now a junior auditor, you probably know that the risk-oriented approach is a key. The business value, it is the most important and essential thing. And that's the measurement of result. And most probably this mistake would look like, okay, this is something really odd. But that's how we, or I, not we, I thought back in the days. With that perspective at the moment, I'm thinking that you always need to think to the mistake or to the observation from the lens of the business. And it's not only about the bringing added value or bringing something meaningful. You also need to identify the risk. So risk comes first. That's the most important one. The mistake number 2, never admitted I was wrong. So admitting that you are wrong, I think, in my opinion, it's the most powerful feature of the humankind. But I was mistakenly thinking that the auditor is always right, and this is our dignity, and if we are wrong, then we are not the auditors per se, and we are not the good auditors, which of course I didn't want to be, and I didn't want to admit. I think any profession, and especially in the audit, where we need to hold and demonstrate the highest ethical standards, I think it's very, very much important that you admitting if you're wrong. Of course, it could be done in a different ways. You can be in position of victim, or you could be in a position of professional who are just delivering the message. Yes, I must admit that we did wrong. We didn't check this. We didn't bring that factual results. This is not based on fact. This is our interpretation, etc., etc., etc. So we could find the good words and the professional words to describe what was wrong. I think it's very, very powerful, especially in the audit profession. The mistake number 3, it's trusting words instead of evidence. And yes, I must admit that I had that in my career, even though by laws or by books, we know that the audit is activity based on fact. So it is the factual evidences, factual results. But I had in my career, and I can even share my example, when we didn't double check with the subject matter expert, and we believed that, let's say, this policy or governance does not exist. With that, we brought it to the pre-approval meeting where my manager, where the manager of the audit manager, the client, we were sitting all together in the room and we were discussing about the observations and findings. And then it was super embarrassing, and also in front of my manager, to admit that, or even not to admit, to hear that this governance actually exists, and it was demonstrated during the meeting. So then I had to refer to the mistake number 2. So we need to admit that we've been wrong, and we need to recheck and double check. I think it's also the way how you would communicate, and especially it is important how your manager, if you're not manager yourself, how your manager will articulate it. I was lucky enough at that time, my manager managed it so good. So we just took a time off. We decided to reconsider, and of course we changed the audit results. And that was based on facts. We have to change the result if it is based on facts. We know we hearing here and there that, oh, we are changing the audit results and this is not okay. This is absolutely not demonstrating our professional judgment and our professional standards. We're not adhering to that. But I think if we are wrong, this is even worse to commit that we are in line with the international standards. So I think I consider that as a mistake, and my lesson was learned. The mistake number 4 is being afraid to challenge your audit committee or any other board of directors relevant committee, risk committee, compliance committee, ethical committee, etc., etc. And of course, it might not be relevant for those who are only in the junior position and who are not having an access to the audit committee. But I was mistakenly again thinking, when I was younger as an auditor, I was thinking that we cannot challenge the audit committee. This is our supervision body. They are overseeing everything. They know better. They understand better. And when they're starting challenging some of the observations or some of the recommendations or opinions of the auditors, I was thinking that we need to take it as granted. But that's not true. And I think with that, we also need to be in a very, very good communication skills as auditors to convey the message in a polite, in a kind, in an appropriate manner, in the professional manner, where it could also articulate that this is not how we think, or this is based on this and that. And of course, for these purposes, we have to be super ready and very well prepared for the meeting. And if we are not prepared, then we need to take a time off. I think it's not embarrassing to take a time off. So we have to challenge any supervision body with due respect, in a kind manner, in an appropriate manner, in line with the code of conduct, and etc. So that's my learning about the mistake number 4. And the mistake number 5 is taking myself way too seriously as an auditor, as a professional. And I think it's relevant not only for the auditors, any compliance professional, finance people, we are considered as a boring, as a we should be serious and we should be sitting with the tie, like all the kind of stuff. And maybe it's kind of old school, but we still consider it as people who don't smile, who very serious, and if we're not, then the audit committee, our stakeholders, they would not take us seriously. And it's true and not true, right? Yes and no, because I think we need to be professional, and the professional is not equal to be not authentic. I think the most important to be authentic, to put a smile if necessary, to give some jokes, or to somehow to relax the environment if it is super tense at the moment, especially if you're having a very difficult conversations. I think, of course, it depends on the situation, and you as a professional can manage and understand what is appropriate at this particular moment. But I think it's important to remember that we are human being, and everyone else around us is also a human being. And we like when someone is smiling, and we like when someone is being a bit more relaxed, and then creates it a little bit more trust and also comfort. I think it's a good thing. And also for the auditors, because we have to create a trust, we have to feel as a trustworthy. And it doesn't mean that we need to be very serious and boring and not smiling at all. So I remember one time when I was present in the audit committee, and one of the board members, female, she said to me, maybe Alex, you could put a smile on your face and maybe that tension would be a little bit eliminated, because at that time we had a quite intense discussion with the CEO, and of course at that time I didn't want to smile because that was so personal for me. But I think the smile is also helps you to calm down and come back to the point, because when we are taking it too personal or too not relaxed and somehow squeezed with our, this tension and bad feelings and disagreements, etc., etc., I think it's a good way to also manage your own emotions. So I think I listed the most important for me 5 mistakes, and as I said, they're embarrassing mistakes, but I'm not embarrassed about them anymore, because as I said, they shaped me as a professional, they shaped me as an auditor. And I would love to hear your examples. Maybe you found yourself in that 5 mistakes. Maybe you did something another. Maybe some of these mistakes, not the mistakes in your opinion. I would love to hear your feedback and your opinion. And if you would like to stay connected, that I would encourage you to follow the link and we can be connected on LinkedIn. I'm looking forward to the next session, and feel free to suggest me any topic that you would like to discuss with me. With that, I wish you luck. Bye.